All right, boys and girl, welcome back to the Game of Thrones Dynasty podcast. I don't know if this is week 1 or week 2 at this point, but who cares? This is your favorite host, the Iron Bank. I'm joined tonight by our second favorite host, aka the Commissioner, Lewis, aka Baratheon, aka Dondarrion. I think after this preset,
aka 1-0.
I'm just going to keep throwing AKA out there a ton right now. What's going on, buddy?
Good, dude. I had a heck of a Monday night. So I was pumped last night with my comeback, and I immediately was like, we need to get a podcast together so I can talk about my comeback win. So that's what this is. I don't know what the rest of you are here for, but we're going to talk about my comeback win. And then I also named this episode, I don't know what that says. I wish the Game of Throner Jeremy would join us every blue moon maybe to read the names of this shit here. But that is the name of season 3 episode 1 of Game of Thrones, and so that's what this is, and that's why it's named that.
What is it named?
I don't know. It says at the bottom right, Valar something rather.
Valar Dohaeris or Valar?
Dohaeris. I don't know. But that was what season 3 episode 1 was titled, and so that's what we're going with here.
No, if I remember right, that's when Arya meets the Faceless Man in Hardenhal.
Yeah, speaking of Faceless Men, our Faceless Man didn't set a lineup this week, and I'm going to make sure I throw that out as much as possible because I'm going to shit on him for that. I'm going to shit on a lot of people tonight. But yeah, I'm going to look it up, and
that's going to happen, but at the end of the day, somehow he still pulled out a victory. So a couple of things we'll do, you guys remember from last year's, we'll go through a couple of the teams that won, a couple of definite standouts. We'll make sure we give props to everyone who had big weeks, as well as some disappointments. But before we get into disappointments, I think we've got to give a big round of applause to House Greyjoy, who is joining us on this cast right now. I'm sorry for not introducing you, but I wanted to blend that in and let you introduce and humble brag, but not really humbly brag, about 180.94 points you put up. And I believe that's a new record. Is that right?
It's not. I think I came a little – wait. It didn't look like it was earlier, did it? I think I'm 7 points. Yeah, I'm 7 points short.
That's embarrassing.
But it's the best week of the season so far.
Can you reverse look up records? Can you look up the least amount of points scored in the Game of Thrones League?
You can. I have it up right there. I can tell you right now. That would be House Dondarrion, week 7 of 2017.
That was me last year. How many did I have?
17.5.
Damn, I was gonna say for a while, House Egan was sitting on 6 points. So I thought that was what was going to happen.
So Egan ended up with our 7th worst total ever, just over 26 points, 28 points.
Yeah, he was sitting on something for a while. Geronimo Allison was that Sunday night? So most of Sunday, all the way through Sunday, he was sitting at about I want to say 6 points because he got his points. Anthony Miller had 2.9, and then Allison had 16, and that gave him a grand total of 28. But for a while there, all day Sunday, he had 6 points, and I was like, he's going to set the record for scoring 6 points.
But that's enough about him. Let's talk about me.
Seriously. Let's go ahead and mention the lineup here. Cam Newton, Ben Roethlisberger, Dion Lewis, Marshawn Lynch, Alvin Kamara, Larry Fitzgerald, Tyreek Hill, and Gronk. 180.94 points. And you got to feel bad for Tully. I'm sorry, you don't have to feel bad for Tully, but 96.68 points and started James Conner. So one of the few owners who started James Conner this last week and lost their matchup. So that can't feel good, but hey, maybe that'll help him next week. Anyway.
And everyone in our division kind of showed up for, I think, maybe the first time ever. We had good showing across the board. The other game, Mallister put up almost 110, so he looks like he could be formidable.
Over 80. I mean, dear God.
Yeah.
So what's it like to actually have to potentially compete in your division this year?
He doesn't have to compete.
Yeah, out with Cloudy. Ask again later.
He doesn't have to compete. Well, what's great is like it's one of those things where like I'm just scrolling through. I was trying to quickly see if Greyjoy had anybody else that like maybe you start somebody else and he breaks the record.
Yeah, I don't think.
And yeah, I don't think you start anybody else here, but he does have Philip Dorsett on there who. I have in quite a few leagues. I just kind of stashed him because he was on waivers, and it was just one of those things where I think once IR opened up, you move players to IR, and you have a couple random roster spots, and that's what I don't know if that's what he was for you, but that's what Philip Dorsett was for me in some other leagues, in Star Wars, in my WWE league. I think I have him in a couple other leagues, so I'm not in with you guys. But same kind of thing. Like I filled in with him, and he really impressed me week 1. So he's a guy that I was just like, this like could be onto something if he puts it together.
Yeah, I think he was. Oh, hello.
Hey,
don't worry, we weren't talking about anything.
It says off air. Are you guys aware of that?
It's live. You are incorrect.
I mean, I'll show you. It says off air for me.
Mine says
we are live, so welcome to the show. Anyways, we're talking about the 180-point ass kicking of Tully. Any thoughts about the 181 he put up?
Yeah. Do you have Hill and Kamara?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I got screwed by Hill in a couple of my leagues too. That sucks. Yeah, the monster games. Holy shit.
If I had anything out of my quarterbacks, I would have blown away the league record this week.
Yeah, 27 points out of that position, whereas usually you start 2 quarterbacks. You don't have 27 points. And like Lewis was alluding to, anyone who started Philip Dorsett over Ben Roethlisberger this week was probably an asshole anyway here. So,
right. Yeah, I mean, there's nobody in there. But it's just one of those things where, like, just because for a while there with Greyjoy's team, I was just like, oh, he's got Lynch and he's got Hyde and he's got Fitzgerald. Like that cliff's coming. That cliff's is coming. It's not like I don't think it's like a House Forrester cliff that where you're gonna hit it and then it's gonna be really bad. But like that cliff's coming in a spot where he gets like a lot of points. Like a lot of points from some of these guys, but like a Philip Dorsett could really. Like I'm just like all over Philip Dorsett. I think that's really like if he's used the way that they used him there throughout the season, then like that's a huge bonus for Greyjoy because I think a lot of his like C.J. Anderson was meh. Like it's just one of those things where like his team's so good and then it starts to like crumble. Maybe like C.J. Anderson gets a bad spot. Fitzgerald's old. Bradford looked like ass. But then there's just like another player that's like, hey, whatever, plug this guy in.
Yeah, receiver is the one place where I really don't have any depth either. So,
right, and that's what I'm saying. It's a nice little treat.
Yeah, I when you started to talk about it, I looked up my transactions and I picked him up on the 4th of July for $7.
Nice, that's a good one. We'll be talking about that one probably at the end of the season when we do our superlatives. But yeah, I mean, same thing. I mean, I did that when I don't know if it was July, but it was probably a little later. But same deal. Like just when players started getting IR eligible and I had some space, Dorsett was one of the big grabs that I went around and got. But we can enough about Dorsett. We can run through. I'm gonna go backwards, start at the bottom right of the calendar.
Well, no, hold on. Let's do this in the right order here, Lewis. I mean, for the first time in I think 15 weeks, you got to win. So let's.
Can't we save the best for last?
that's not the best for last. We'll save the best for last.
All right. Yeah, no, we can talk about my team because I really want to talk about what happened on Monday night.
Let's talk about your team.
I honestly thought I was out of it. There was I was talking to Eric. I think it was prior to the kickoff of Green Bay and Chicago. He was talking about how he didn't really have a great week, and I kind of hit along the same lines where, like, listen, I really didn't have one either. I'm not real worried about it. It's 1 week. I just got, like, places where I thought I was going to compete, I got nothing. Places where I was trying to lose, I freaking put up 100 at some point. Like, it was just one of those weeks. So I wasn't real worried about it, but it was one of those things where I looked at my win-loss total and I was like, I lost a shit ton this week. But on that Monday night game, things changed big time. I was down. I think I was down 8 points or something, 10 points maybe, with Golden Tate and Robert Woods still to go. But I'm facing Fell. He's got Stafford and Cooper. And I was like, shit, the quarterback, that's over. I mean, he's going to score 20 points. I'm already down 10. I'm not going to be able to make up 30 points between these two guys. And then he's got Cooper. But that game was just so ridiculous that Stafford threw 4 interceptions, got hurt, came out a couple times, comes back in and throws the touchdown to freaking Tate. And Tate scores me 20 points instead of Stafford getting 20. So that flipped there. And Woods got one big catch. He had a couple, but the one big catch that got the majority of his points secured my victory on Monday night. It was great. I couldn't believe that I actually came back and won because the whole way through I was projected to lose the whole way through.
Yeah.
So
Stafford looked terrible. And I'm sorry, I'll turn this over to a Lions fan in a minute here, but that was not a good showing from the Lions. And any shit talking I was talking in preseason about having Hugh Jackson being the first coach fired, Matt Patricia's odds probably just jumped a good bit. So the question I have for you, Greyjoy, is at what point do the Lions fans storm the stadium and either burn it down, or Patricia on fire, stab him with pitchforks? I mean, what's really the punishment for this?
He's better than Matt Millen, maybe. The jury might still be out on that one.
Well, that's a GM versus a coach. I mean,
okay, fine.
The coach.
Who was was it Schwartz who went 0-16?
Yes. Yeah.
Or was it
Jeff
Morning
Schwartz?
Maybe
Schwartz.
In any case, the bar is very, very low for Lions fans to be satisfied. I mean, 4-12 after making the playoffs is probably a bad thing, but that's not enough to get him fired. And it's week one overreaction. They came out after halftime, tied up the game, and I think they forgot that the game was still going because the Jets put up a 31 spot after that point. But so yeah, I don't know what to.
Well, and a lot of that's on the GM too. I don't think Detroit's as good on paper as people think. I think a lot of that's on the GM. Their D-line's not that great. Their O-line's still not that great. I don't know. I think a lot of that's on the GM there. So maybe Patricia probably gets a little bit of a leash because he's a first-year guy. Hugh Jackson's freaking terrible, though. I mean, he has to go. I don't know what argument you can make to keep that guy. I like Todd Haley a lot better. And that's coming from me, what hair I do have. Todd Haley made me pull out last year on Sundays, but the offense still scored 30 points a game, and in the NFL that wins you a lot of games. And I don't know why you, as a Browns fan, wouldn't want that because they have a lot of weapons on offense and they didn't even use them. It seemed for the most part. Now I know it was raining and pouring and all that shit, but they really did not use any of their weapons like I thought they would. They should have ran Hyde. They didn't run him until almost halfway through the second quarter. He still put up 13 points, I think, something like that. But that's usually what the Steelers' Achilles heel is someone just power runs them, and by the end of the game you're getting massive gashes. But it's whatever. Enough about my team because
I did just want to point one thing out. I did the math here, and you had lost 19 games in a row.
Hey, I said I was going to compete this year. I said I was going to compete this year. The Delaney Walker thing is gonna hurt me. I'm playing. I already looked. I think it's Swan. I think I'm playing Swan next week. I've got a good time to play her. Bell hasn't reported yet. He'll be out. I'm hopeful. I mean, I have Kamara in one league. I do have one share of Kamara, so I would like him to have a decent week, but I don't want him to have 40 points again. And I think somebody mentioned that Tully was probably one of the only people that had James Conner and lost this week. I had James Conner in doubles and lost because Eric only scored like 60 points.
85.
There we go. But in terms of starting Kamara and losing, House Swan has to be one of the only people that starts House Swan and gets, or that starts House Swan, that starts Kamara, his 41 points, and you have Brady's 22, and still lose.
Well,
so that was a tough one, and I think that was the closest. Somebody screenshotted that and put it in the chat last night. That margin of victory was the smallest margin of victory, in our league for the last, 2 years in 1 week.
Well, all it takes is a 1 yard stat correction to change that. So we'll see
but how many offensive stat corrections come in? Most of them are IDP. I don't know. Most of the stat corrections that I see on offense are changing a pass to a run or a run to a pass or something like that. I don't really ever see yardage getting tweaked, but we'll see. You never know. If they take away a Ben Roethlisberger, pass and say that it was a run, then this thing gets mighty interesting. But yeah, no. And I think the better team won anyways, so it's not really something that I'm going to harp on, because there's some of these matchups where I thought the better team lost, but this is one where I think Targaryen's got the better team on paper, and I think he probably should have won. Bad quarterback weeks from Matt Ryan playing a really tough Eagles defense, and then the weather for Ben Roethlisberger. Those guys show up and do their normal thing, and Targaryen wins here easily, even with the 41-point effort from Kamara. So it is what it is.
What the corrections have to say here, to kind of go through a couple other highlights here. I know we don't like to talk about Mr. Fucking Pay Me on this podcast, but winning by 103.5 points is still a pretty good day. And that's
who did that?
Egan. Royce won 132.18 to 28.6.
Oh, yeah. Got it. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was looking at the right matchup. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'll go ahead and say it because, Lewis wants to. Part of this is because Egan only started 7 people. So, fuck you, start a full lineup. Second off, Royce got very fortunate with a couple of players going off here, such as Evans and Thomas in shootouts that I don't think anyone was expecting. Actually, he had 3 players in shootouts. And from a non-fantasy perspective, how in God's name do the Buccaneers put up 48 points and O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate score like 12?
Brate had a donut. So it's 6.9 between Brate and Howard. That screwed me. I have a lot of Brate, but I wasn't starting him. It screwed me in NFL GMs, but I still would have lost anyways, because Brate's my tight end 1 in NFL GMs. It's a 32-team single copy, so that kind of explains why. But yeah, I don't know. He didn't use the tight end. I don't know. He played. Where did he play last year? Fitzpatrick? Was he there? Was he in?
Yeah,
he was there.
I was gonna say, because I was trying to think. I was like, I remember he was in. Wasn't he a Jet for all those years? Or am I thinking of somebody else and I need to go to sleep?
He was a Jet for all those years. So he was a Bengal, and then did well there. He was a Jet and did well there for a year. And then he backed up Winston last year.
Yeah, so it was the Jet thing I'm thinking of, because the Jets never had a tight end. So he probably, for a couple years when he was in New York, never used a tight end anyway. And so now he's kind of like, what the fuck do I need a tight end for? That'd be my only thing. But he looked good. He looked good throwing it deep to both Evans and Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson, I have a lot of Deshaun Jackson and kind of think that he's going to have a good year. So hopefully that keeps up. But looking at this matchup, it was interesting. 2 things that kind of caught me off guard. So when I was looking through Egan's thing, just because I was like, really, are we going to do the 28-point lineup, not set enough players? Like, of course, like, because of the strategy of he never has players on his roster, and now he's not starting enough players in his lineup, and he kept his pick. So it was something I was looking at. I was surprised, first of all, that Ryan Switzer had 7.5 points, and all of that was from return yardage, which is kind of impressive. But I wanted to talk about Naheem Hines, 10.5 points, third round rookie for the Colts. That's something to build on. I don't know if Mac misses next week, but if Mac comes back and Hines is still a part of the offense, I think that's a good get for I don't know who has the other copy, but a good get for Royce here because Kenyon Drake didn't look all that great. Dallas's line in offense doesn't look all that. I mean, I know the line was hurt and didn't play, but the offense doesn't look all that great. Zeke's going to play a lot. If he gets a lot of touches, gets worn out, gets fatigued, gets hurt. Royce doesn't really have any depth, so Naheem Hines is going to have to be somebody that he could look to probably count on, because some of the other picks that he's invested here, like Traquan Smith, had a really good summer but didn't play. In a 48-40 shootout where you got to throw the ball and he's not playing either. Not a good sign. The Kelvin Benjamin Buffalo's offense looks terrible, so I wouldn't even – he's not startable either. So Naheem Hines is going to probably be huge for House Royce this year. It'll probably make or break his season because he really doesn't have a player to sub in there on a bye week for his starters, for his starting 8 that's there.
One thing I got to give credit to here is, as I'm counting here, there seems to be about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players that Royce has on Egan. However, because of the fact that Royce has not managed his IR or his free agents very well, there's actually only a 2-man advantage, I believe, here that Egan had, and still somehow lost by over 100 points. So, 2 things, I guess. 1, Royce, manage your roster, and 2, you can add a couple players to it. I mean, there's plenty of players on free agency that's worth adding this week. Do some work. Anyway,
it's just one of those things. I'm not sure it'll ever happen. I'm not sure why. Like, I can't think of any philosophy as why you wouldn't. It's just like lazy or dumb. Like, I get you're trying to hide points maybe now that he has his pick, but he hasn't had his pick for the last 2 years, and he still does this shit. It just doesn't make sense. I kind of try to goad him into who's the Seattle tight end? Disley.
Dilly.
So maybe he'll spend like his entire budget on him. That'd be funny. So I tried to like fire him up and get him upset about that. So maybe he did that. That'll be one less player that goes. Even if he pans out, that's great. But at least it's going to a bad team. If he doesn't, at least he's going to a bad team, and it doesn't really help anybody. So we'll see. Should we talk about who's next? What's next in the order? Forrester and Reed? Is that what's on everybody else's, or no? My thing's so out of order.
You touched on Spawn. Of course, you'd like to touch on Spawn some more, but we'll leave that for some other time. We've got, we'll just go through the quick here. We've got Payne beating Casterly, which I think is a bit of too much of a surprise. King Banefort going down to Lannister. Definitely a surprise. We'll come back to that.
What a ball from Grace.
Oh, my God. Tyrell being on Bulware. Bulware's, again, one more year away.
He might be 2 now. Like, that's not a good start. Not a good – Mariota's hurt. The rest of the team – I don't know why the fuck he's starting Chad Williams. The tight end, it looks like he's got nothing at tight end. He's in a worse spot than I think he thought he was, and I definitely thought he was going in.
Yep. Probably one of the bigger surprises for me, especially considering the way that Mahomes chucked the ball around, was Hightower getting beat, not just beat, but beat by 43 by Cockshaw. So, a lot of that can be chalked up to Fitzpatrick asking like that teed up. I don't think anyone expected, and the Baldwin no-show. But still, I think a guy that a lot of us had as the likely favorite from the Fire, getting beat by 43 to start off the season's a bit of a surprise there. Walker's winning by, call it 25. We've got Eric on, so losing by about 50 to Free Folk after going 14-0 last year. So I think this is your first regular season loss in a very long time.
Hey, oh yeah.
Eric, I'm sorry it had to come to this, but Dak didn't have a great week. Stafford didn't have a great week. A couple of the other players did okay, but then Kelce, and you'll appreciate. And I can share a screenshot.
Yeah,
with
Kelce.
you.
I need that Kelce sauce to do a little better.
I'll tell. I gotta tell you. I've got a former work league that has been referring to Kelce as KELCHE all night, and I've been chuckling every time he's been sending me an email.
Yeah, no. Free Folk also whipped my ass in another league, so he got his beating after I took care of him 3 times last year, twice in the regular season and once in the playoffs. Yeah, his team's real good, so I have no qualms with it. Tyreek Hill put up like 50 points, so if it's going to be this week where my players don't play well pretty much consistently, I'll take it. I am happy about Jordan Howard, though. He looks like he's going to have a better season, and Hyde looks still relevant. So my running backs, which are very thin, still look relevant.
Super thin.
This is true.
Hey, you know who has some extra running backs?
Who's that?
I have nothing to trade. That's my problem. I have to trade away one of my stars for like a couple like middling players. I'm not sure I'm ready to do that yet. I'm
ready for you to do that.
I tried to trade House Reed for his budding star at tight end, Charles Clay. But the response I got back was, "Can't you tell I'm a little weak at tight end?" And I was like, "You're still trying to compete." So we can talk about that one next because he got blown out of the water by Forrester.
That was kind of
it was like that outcome was expected, but what I wasn't expecting was that that put like Reed is about, what is that, almost 7.5 points out of the basement of that division. I didn't have him penciled in I didn't have him penned in, but I wouldn't have had him penciled in either. For the basement of that division, I thought he was probably the second best team. But I'm going to click on his thing here to see what happened to his team. He got 2 donuts, Goodwin and Clay. I think Goodwin got injured early in the first quarter.
Yep.
Quality running back play.
Buffalo was terrible. But some decent options. Like I think Allison is probably a must-play going forward. For Reed, I don't know about Willie Snead, probably not. Bruce Ellington, probably not. Beasley, probably not. But I think he probably has to get Geronimo Allison into his lineup, and maybe that helps some things. But you're still talking about having Andrew Luck, Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, and he gets blown out of the water.
How did Reed end up with the quarterbacks that I drafted 2 years ago?
The answer
well done.
Sneaky snakes.
We got both of them from Egan. He got. I think he gave up.
Peterman.
I think he got Rodgers last year for. No, there was Peterman who went for Cam Newton, but Luck went there and he got Luck from Egan, and he also got Rodgers from Egan. So
can we time out for a second? Like I'm sorry I have to shit on the same people, and I don't want people to think I'm picking on them.
No, just don't do it. Don't do it. It's like, save yourself time. Look, I got shit for trading him podcast right now if you keep doing this. I had to listen to you shit on him in Cleveland for 15 minutes last night. I'm sorry, not even 15 minutes, an hour and a half last night. Let's just let it go.
Dude, Luck, Newton, and Rodgers. Those all came from House Egan. None of them are there. He started Peterman. That's all. Like, you're not going to win many fantasy football games with that. I'm just putting it out there. I think I touched on Bolton and Stark. That was a surprise. I texted Eric about Bolton not setting a lineup. And Bolton still won with 2 donuts in his thing. So there's a lot of donuts across the board in some of these matchups. Hopefully those get corrected.
For Bolton, it's his first MFL league, so I think he just kind of forgot to go on it and set his lineup. But he should be good going forward.
What does he used to play baseball?
What?
Not NFL, MFL.
Thank
MFL.
You. Never mind.
Yeah, it's his first. He only uses ESPN, I'm pretty sure. So if
this is
not doing it,
the learning curve is pretty high for MFL. I'll grant you that.
Right. He didn't spread himself thin either. It's the only league he joined online. So he should be okay. I mean, he got to win, so who cares? But
I care. Anyways, it's not like he had a ton of other options, but I mean, I'd rather throw in an act like the CJ Pro site thing doesn't bother me, but like throw in an active player, especially when Marlon Mack was announced out at like 9:00 Sunday morning.
Yeah. Well, when 6 of your 9 running backs put up a donut, there's not a lot of options. But I hear you. You at least got to play somebody who's going to be in the game.
Right. And this is another one. Like I think Mike said something about Royce having a lineup full of free agents. This is another one. Kaepernick, Ryan Matthews, Kendall Wright, Jake Winicky, or whatever, Jehu Chesson, or what. Like, some of these just need cleaned up because these are really bad. Like, there's no one's going to trade you for that. There's no reason for you to keep them. Some of these guys, Kaepernick's never going to be back in the league, and if you think that he is, you don't watch the news enough. Ryan Matthews, I think, has been out for 2 full years now. Kendall Wright's recently, so maybe you can hold on to him. But some of these other guys, like, I don't know. It's just me. Do any of you have Calvin Ridley in a league?
I own him in Star Wars.
I don't own him somewhere. I think a Reddit league and one other league I own him.
Oh, I guess Mike left. That's cool. So thoughts on Calvin Ridley's donut? I think he was drafted as the first wide receiver here.
I don't make any assumptions after first game. He only had 2 targets, but that whole offense looked pretty awful.
Yeah, they're going against a really good defense. I think for Ridley, he looks a little small. I'm not huge on rookies coming in, but I didn't know he was as small as he was. And they weren't using him on deep routes. It kind of a lot of short stuff where they just threw it to him and he couldn't hold on to the ball. So maybe he needs to beef up a little bit. But while Julio Jones is the target monster there, he's not going to be anything more than the receiver 2 if he can graduate to that. So, he's a stash. I don't think anyone's going to look at this year and say he's not good or say he's great. I think he's kind of stuck there until maybe Sanu leaves in the offseason and he could step into that number 2 role.
I mean, is he a stash that you think, like, I'm just surprised that he made it into Stark's starting lineup, that's all.
Well, did he have anyone else?
I mean, Pettis, but I mean, you're talking about a rookie, but I probably would have started Pettis over Ridley anyways.
Goodwin went down. He couldn't anticipate that.
Yeah. Taylor Gabriel. No, I mean, not really. Theo Riddick, I probably would have started Theo Riddick over Calvin Ridley.
Week 1.
That's not enough points to get him the win, unfortunately. But I probably would have. I mean, I don't think I wouldn't have put Calvin Ridley in my lineup. I would have gone with Theo Riddick, and the points, because I know what Theo Riddick's role is basically, and so that's why I'd go with him. And now Detroit played like shit, so that kind of probably hurts Riddick's points here, but he still had 7.5 or whatever that is. But whatever, a loss is a loss. It was just one of those things. Again, I thought one of these 2 teams were going to be the worst in the division. I honestly thought it was Bolton. He put up 93 points. Tyrod Taylor really helped him out, and Julio. Jared Cook, actually, too. That's what happened. So this is what this was. This was close. So this was – Stark was winning this going into Sunday night. Jared Cook scored 24.75 points and lifted Bolton to 93 points. So that's what this was. This is what happened. I remember this being closer, and that's why I was looking at it. Like, because for a while I checked the scoreboard and it was 70-something to 70-something, and I was like, okay, so with a loss, like if this person loses, this one wins, Jeremy's has a good chance of going to the basement of the division. But Jared Cook lit it up last night. Big numbers. So that's a good one. We talked about Greyjoy already. I think we have to talk about Malister. I think I guess Mike hit on it for the 30 seconds that he was useful. But But Cam Newton, Patrick Mahomes, Barkley, Jordan Howard all scored big points for Malister. He still doesn't have a tight end. I think that was the one hole that all offseason I was like, needs a tight end. Played Gerald Everett. Rams didn't throw to one tight end the entire game. So it's still probably a team, one of many teams at this point that I think needs a tight end. But the rest of this lineup is solid. I don't think it competes with you, Greyjoy, but I think, on any given week it could beat you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we both got Cam Newton, so whatever I get from him is going to cancel out. Reek's not going to put up 40 points every week, so I think I get him. I think I get him this week, week 2. So hopeful. His guys have a down week, and without a tight end, I think I got the advantage there.
Yeah, he's one of those things. He probably doesn't need to buy one because he probably isn't going to win, but still a team that could easily put up 100-some points, and that's going to win games. It's just a matter of how many he'd like to win. It could be a sneaky team, and this is again. I think I was also talking about like if Pettis broke out, he's got his flex player to play when his guys get hurt. Goodwin gets hurt. Pettis has. I think he only had 1 or 2 catches, though. Is the problem. I'm trying to figure out how he has so many points. 2 catches, 61 yards to a touchdown. So he really wasn't featured that much, but he did find his way into the end zone. So if he can consistently do that, the other points on his bench, Kenneth Dixon, Santi actually tweeted this out. I'm not really looking anything into Kenneth Dixon. The dude didn't touch that ball, and the score was already 40-3 before he got his first touch.
So plus he's already hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, is he hurt already?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's going to miss a couple weeks at least.
Okay, then. So that ends that. The only other person is Marcus Murphy. I don't even know what team this guy plays for because MFL's fucking scoreboard doesn't even say the team. Oh, it's either the Buffalo Bills or the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know which team he plays on. He plays on one of those. The dude got 11 points.
He must have gotten kick returns because he only had 6 rushes for 31 yards.
Yeah, 165 kick return yards for Buffalo. I'm not even sure why this dude's owned, but he is. Nothing to look forward to going forwards in terms of points there. Brotherhood without banners looks terrible. His team's in trouble. I didn't watch a lot of these games or even watch highlights or follow them anywhere. Did Rosen go in?
No.
Bradford played the whole game.
Bradford's entire game was this 282 or 2.82 points.
That would be correct.
Yeah, he looked bad.
Ooh,
I watched the game. He looked bad.
So,
that was an ugly game.
Yeah. So this was when he took Jackson, and I said, you might want Rosen. So now he's in a predicament because he does have Dalton put up points. Crowell looked great. Beckham looked good. Javoris Allen found the end zone. He's got a couple other pieces that he can maybe a spot start. Delaney Walker's hurt, so now he's got a tight end in Jonnu Smith. He's got Ricky Seals-Jones, so he's only a couple pieces away now, but now he's got to redo quarterback because Lamar Jackson ain't playing anytime soon. We can talk about Harding and Baelish because Baelish probably listens. I was pleasantly somewhat surprised by Baelish's team. I don't think I made the mistake of starting DJ Moore somewhere too. That cost me. I thought he'd be more involved. He looked decent. Not that Baelish wins this game either way, anyways, because he's another one that doesn't really have a quarterback. Nick Foles is garbage. But for a team that's got to put players, in his lineup, I thought he did all right. I'm hoping that his idea here is to get some players that have good weeks and then sell them. James White is probably somebody that by the time Baelish is ready to rebuild, James White's probably no good to him. So if James White has another good week or two, if Michelle misses time, then or misses any more time, then maybe Baelish can look to cash in on James White here for some easy money. But some of these other guys, I think, were pieces that he was looking to cash in on, and not too many of them did very well.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine, or these guys will come along throughout the season. He's, if he's looking to sell guys at value, he's going to get the opportunity. They'll have their good weeks, or they'll come along. But I think the more interesting thing here is that, for as well as Harding has put his team together, he got outscored by 7 teams this week.
Yeah, that's what I really wanted. I think I said it before the season got kicked off that his team on paper no longer looks as fearsome to me as I thought it once did. For a while there, it was extremely young. I think he was like the youngest team in the league. It was extremely young. It was extremely talented, and it scored a shit ton of points. And then for whatever reason, he decided to switch to add players like Golden Tate, Julian Edelman. I can't remember if he brought in Frank Gore or not. It's just one of those. He brought in Des Bryant. It's just one of those things that ever since he made a fuss about Marvel and quit Marvel, that his team's just gone downhill because he doesn't show up, he doesn't check in, he doesn't. So it's another one with a bunch of players that are free agents and some guys that are out and suspended and shouldn't be rostered. It's just, I don't know. It's one of those teams. We'll see what happens. But it's still good enough that it's going to win games. But it no longer scares me. Like, I look at it and go, okay, well, I could possibly beat this team on. Now, some of these guys would have to have like average to below average weeks for me to beat them. But I'm no longer marking it down as like, yeah, I'm going to get, mopped by this team. But that's just my thoughts. We talked about Royce. We talked about Children. White Walkers was a surprising 125 points. I think before last week or the week before, whenever we did the last podcast here, I said I thought White Walkers was going to be the basement of whatever division this is, Beyond the Wall. He's not. Eric is. But I just thought it was going to be White Walkers. This team was old. I thought it was going to hit that cliff. But Peterson, as old as he is, puts up 22 points. Demaryius Thomas is old and puts up 16 points. I really think the thing here was the QB play is going to carry him to get, I don't even know what that is, almost 60 points, 55 points from the quarterbacks. And then anything like you get 1 or 2 guys with double-digit weeks, then you're going to have a lot of points. Because the rest of the guys he started, Bilal Powell looked good there for a little bit. Chris Hogan didn't really get involved, and Greg Olsen got hurt again. So to have essentially 3 spots where you get little to nothing out of and still put up 123 points, I think it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to move. I mean, he's got Breeze Rogers, and he's also got Alex Smith. If he wants to compete this year, it looks like he's going to have to do something to get a tight end, because Olsen's out for a long time, and he has really nothing behind him.
He's out for a long time?
Olsen? He broke his foot.
Oh, I didn't. I see again. This is how detached from fantasy and football I've been. I knew he was hurt, didn't really look for anything on him. So that's interesting. Olsen will be out. We talked about Cockshaw and Hightower. That was one of my big surprises. I thought Hightower was going to be competitive. Not that he can't be competitive, but he's got some changes to make in his lineup, and then some ultimately with it, this being his ideal lineup, and then having to tinker that a little bit, he's gonna have to make some tough decisions, each week between which of the Tennessee running backs he starts, or does he start Marshawn Lynch, or Chris Thompson, and so he's got to get that one right, or does he start all of them and take out some of these other guys? I don't know. So he's got some tinkering to do. It might take him a couple of weeks to get it figured out. But again, he probably has, in the division he's in, he probably has 3 or 4 weeks to figure out what lineup he wants to set up before he has to really the games matter.
He looks like he's going to be fine. He might pick the wrong lineup every week, but got the talent and depth to be a serious contender.
Yeah, absolutely. Has anything come out on Mariota? Again, I know he got hurt, but I haven't looked to see if anything happened. I did get a bunch of shitload, like you hit on when we first started with the MFL issues. I had a couple of leagues where waivers turned into first come waivers, and a lot of people were adding Blaine Gabbert. So
he didn't finish the game. He's got an elbow injury, but I think we haven't really heard if they were taking it slow or just not announcing anything yet. It's either day to day or week to week, something like that. They haven't said whether he's practicing or anything yet.
Tyrell won. I was surprised he won. His team's not very good, but then Bullware's team, I don't know what to begin with that. Both of his quarterbacks are hurt. Wentz is out for, I guess, another week. Mariota's still hurt. The rest of it's young. I mean, Cook, McCaffrey, Davis, Funchess are all young. But if you're in a spot where Chad Williams is your only option or best option of what's available, that's probably not a good thing. The rookie tight end, I don't know how many times I have to say tight ends are not very valuable. Playing rookie ones, probably not the best idea. You need an older one that's cheap, that scores points. So starting that is probably not the ideal option or an option that's going to win him a lot of games.
That's the best one in his roster, though.
I mean, it is. I mean, for a guy that's not going to make any moves, there's not many options here. Cam Meredith, I think he figured was going to be a big part of his team, but he was a healthy inactive, which was kind of shocking. The rest of it, I don't think there's anybody that's anywhere worth that.
Yeah, he's going to have better days, but he's going to have a long year. A lot of zeros on that bench.
Yeah, so I don't know.
And for that matter,
who else is left.
Tyrell didn't really do all that much either.
No, that's what I said. I was kind of hoping that he was going to lose and maybe force his hand to make some moves, because he always seems to be one that panics or follows news really quickly or makes some rash decisions. So I was kind of hoping for that. Although Trubisky looked really good for one quarter, so maybe he's onto something there. If Trubisky can put that together for a whole game. Mike Williams might be relevant. Jordan Reed until he gets hurt. I think he was banking on a better Kearon Johnson, and I don't know if he'll kind of be like, oh, I saw it for a week, that's enough, I'll move him, or if he waits. So that'll be interesting. But again, the bench tier 2. I think this is one of the things that you talked about before, that he kind of likes the same players and stockpiles a lot of the same players, and then is able to magically sell them. Was that you?
I don't think so. It might have been Mike.
Anyway, so somebody brought that up, but none of these guys did well. He has Piran in a lot of places. He was healthy inactive. Jeremy Hill got hurt. Cam Meredith, another one he has in a lot of places, was a healthy inactive. He has a lot of Paul Richardson. He has a lot of James Washington, who didn't. I don't think he was. I think he was active, but I just don't think he played. Some of these other guys, Anthony Miller, 2 points. So it was interesting. The best option on his bench is a tight end right now. I guess it'll change. Paul Richardson and Albert Wilson will probably float in, but with Jack Doyle being your only option there, things are got to be bleak for this division. And that's why I said Hightower probably has 3 or 4 weeks to figure out what lineup he wants to go with, because he can roll out a lineup that has a bunch of donuts in it, or not an ideal lineup, and beat these two. So there's no worries there. He's going to come out of it 2-1. It'll just be a matter of who he plays, out of or in his conference and across conference for those matchups. He's got to get the lineup right, but I wouldn't be sweating it if I was Hightower.
All right, guys, I'm getting off. It was nice talking football with you.
All right, see ya.
Better.
That leaves Mike and Sand Snakes. Sand Snakes was an interesting 100-point game. I thought his team looked awful on paper. For a while there, I didn't realize that he had a second quarterback, but he did. Bradford only had 2 points. Cook saved him, I guess. Is another one where Cook's 25 points brought him from 75 to 100 to the 100 threshold. Whereas, like, if you're hitting 100, you're probably worthwhile. You're going to have a chance to win if you're scoring 100 points.
He had a lot of points on his bench too, though. I mean, he could have
that's
had
not.
really good.
Oh, yeah. There are a lot of points, and I wonder if this is one of those things where like he goes, okay, now Galladay's in my lineup, Stills is in my lineup, Cobb's in my lineup, and then he takes out some of these other guys. Probably Barber. I don't know why you're starting Peyton Barber over. I probably would play Galladay or Cobb over Barber easily. I don't know about Amendola. Probably would have started Stills over Amendola if you're starting a Miami wide receiver. I think Stills is the wide receiver 1, at least until Parker comes back.
Parker's not ever going to be the wide receiver 1.
No, but the McCoy one's interesting. So it'll be like if he subs out McCoy because McCoy played like ass and Buffalo played like ass. I could see that biting him in the butt next week where he takes somebody out, takes McCoy out and puts somebody in, and that person isn't good, and McCoy comes back to earth. So it'll be interesting to see if he either keeps this lineup or changes it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I mean, supposedly since he's gotten cheap at quarterback the last couple of years, I think he went cheap at Keenum to get him in there. I think similar with Bradford last year to get him as another quarterback as well. So, like you said, there are a couple of flexible players that can be plugged in here, but that said, at some point he's got to invest in quarterback, and it'll be interesting to see what that looks like because I don't think he has in his time in this league. I'd have to go back a couple of years to see if he actually ever had a top tier quarterback to go with his top tier running backs.
If his receiver bench keeps scoring like this, and honestly, it puts him in a position where he's going to be picking the wrong players every week. He has the depth here that he could make a move for a quarterback.
A big time quarterback?
Not necessarily big time quarterback, but he can get a quarterback 1, a lower tier quarterback 1.
Right. I went back to 2016 really quick. Now, this is what his roster would have been at the end of 2016, so he could have had one at some point. But he had Case Keenum, Carson Palmer, and Ryan Tannehill. So I guess you call Ryan Tannehill his big-time quarterback.
Palmer was supposed to be. He got hurt.
So, no, there's never been a true stud quarterback. I'm clicking on 2017 and to see if anything changed in the quarterback spot to see if he maybe made a bad move here. No, so 2017, his quarterbacks, he still would have had Palmer. He still would have had Keenum. No Tannehill. He traded for Jay Cutler.
Yeah, I mean, even if Le'Veon Bell plays and puts up Le'Veon Bell numbers, he wins this game. So
yeah, is that the play that gets moved? If the loss of Bell is something he feels he can handle with Gordon and his receivers, what quality of quarterback does Bell bring back at this point?
Not as much as it did a week ago.
That's true, but still, and he's still got Royce Freeman sitting there.
Yeah, he's got options.
Yeah, he probably missed the window to sell McCoy. Probably wanted to sell him before this summer, before that shit broke, and now before this shit game. But he probably would have been the one that you would have wanted to move, maybe like pair up first with McCoy and go for not a low tier quarterback, maybe one in that next tier. But I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of young pieces here. And I think someone would pay up, but it's just one of those ones like not interested. Like I tried to buy McCoy at one point, or I tried to even be like, here, you want Ivory, and I'll give you Ivory. And it wasn't even like I was trying to get anything like. I think at most I was trying to get like a third out of Ivory. That's what I bought him for. It's what I'm like. I bought him for a fourth, I think, and I was trying to sell him for a third. He's not interested. So it's just one of those things. Like at some point, you're going to have to be interested in moving players because it's going to be you're going to run out of quarterback options as soon as Bradford loses this job. He's going to be in trouble. I mean, you can win. I think somebody proved. I'm trying to think of who it was. It might have been Bainfort. Somebody proved that you can win games with just one quarterback here. It's extremely hard, but it's doable. I'm not sure Case Keenum is the quarterback to do that with. So it'll be interesting. We'll have to see. I honestly, what if like Royce Freeman has a good game? He had, okay, 7 points. I don't know what he had rushing yards, but if Royce Freeman plays, I want to see who they play. I thought they had a decent matchup. They played the Raiders. Gurley just went for 147 yards against them. If he has a decent week against the Raiders, do you maybe consider using, selling Royce Freeman and say, hey, listen, this dude I took in the first, middle of the first round. He's doing really well. He's probably, better off than where people took Ridley. Michelle hasn't played yet. Penny has not looked all that great. Ronald Jones is inactive.
Rice should be considered the number 2 rookie right now, right?
I've seen him on the 102. Yeah, I've seen him go in drafts around the 102 at this point. So
it was after training camp. It was Barkley, and then of the people who were still on their feet was Rice.
I'd probably take Guice. I'd probably take Guice as my 102, but I definitely think like 102 is too high for me on Freeman. I couldn't do it, wouldn't do it, won't do it. I'd probably still have Guice as my 2, but Freeman absolutely in the 103, 104 thing. And if you're trading that guy, because he's one of those guys that I feel just could easily lose the job once, you know what I mean? Like if Denver, this Lindsey guy looks good, he could eventually just end up being in a timeshare, and at that point, like he's not gonna be any more valuable than what he is, a 102 or a 103 rookie pick anyways. So why not sell him? I mean, if the goal is to win, which I think his goal is with the roster that he has, the age on his roster, if you can flip Freeman and say to somebody that has him as their 102 and say, hey, listen, I need a quarterback. What kind of quarterback would the 102 bring you?
Right.
So I mean, it's interesting. And if you give up Freeman and Freeman, even if he is the 102 and is scoring, if he's only scoring 15 points or 16 points a game, so what? You now have a quarterback that does that. You still have Bell, you still have Gordon, you still have McCoy, and you're loaded at wide receiver with depth. So it's interesting. We'll see if he makes a move. I don't think he will until he absolutely has to. So if something happens with Bradford, I think we'll see a move be made with Sand Snakes.
Well, it makes some good. I assume you guys got through everything else on the scoreboard.
Just have one last division to go.
We have the last division to go. Santy and Faceless. This was actually a close one. On paper, I don't know whose team I'd rather have. On paper, I think Faceless is the team that I'd rather have, but for whatever reason, I swear I thought Santiago was favored in this one. I could be wrong.
No, you're right. He was favored by 11.
Was he?
Well, he was favored by 11 because Fuller didn't play, so I'm not sure whether that included his projection earlier or not, but based off of the now projection of Fuller with a 0, he's favored by 11.
Where do you? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So Santi was favored. Santi scored about what he was projected. So I mean that's good. But man, Amari Cooper, he almost has got to be a sell for me. I have one copy of him, and it's in the league that Eric and I co-run, and so it's going to be hard for me to move Cooper without Eric getting like the 100% value out of Cooper that you would have gotten out of him 3 years ago. But man, Cooper with last year and with this start last year, last night, I don't know if I want any part of Cooper.
Well, again, I didn't stay up to watch the game. I'm an old fart and wake up way too early. But my understanding was that he didn't get any targets. Like, was that because of the coverage? Was that because of the play? Did you guys watch enough to make that distinction?
You know, the one play I saw him make was when he ran a slot route, and that was basically all.
That's all he was.
He was throwing to his running backs. He was throwing to the slot receivers. He was throwing underneath. He never looked long. He never and that may have been their game plan. I don't know. It was like Carr wasn't even thinking about going downfield.
Yeah, the only shots that I saw him take down the field were to Cook. One was in the red zone that got intercepted. But yeah, I don't even remember Carr lining up on the outside, honestly. I want to say Carr was used in the slot, which makes me think that was their game plan, but it was terrible. I can't remember who does the game. I think it's Witten that does the late.
He did.
Yep, the late game. They had thrown to Cooper once, and Witten blatantly was just like, he plays on the outside. You have him running on the inside. He's not used to like. I can't remember if it was the route that was off or if like he got bumped or if it was a quick where he had to like make a real quick catch or something. But Witten commented on that, and I went, "Huh, he's right. Cooper's been playing on the inside all night." So I don't know what that was about, and if that's the case, I just popped up on the thing something about Martavis Bryant's suspension, but he's coming back, and if Martavis is coming back, Martavis can't play inside, so Martavis is going to play outside. And so if Martavis is outside and you're still going to leave Cooper inside, he did not look good last night on the inside.
Yeah, we're one of 3 targets for 9 yards and a 9-yard rush.
Yeah, they did a lot of that end around crap. He got some. I think Seth Roberts got one. I'm trying to think who else. When Bryant comes back, Brian will do that because he did that for the Steelers.
Yeah, I never really thought about Cooper having the speed to make that kind of play, but Bryant, absolutely.
Yeah, so they'll use Bryant for that. Bryant did that all the time for the Steelers. So that'll be one less thing that Cooper gets to do.
He was in the 4.4s in the combine?
Okay, so he's got wheels.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, so both of these teams, I actually thought for a while Santi's team was going to the graveyard. He and I are both high on Alex Collins. It's a little disappointing that in a route he only had 6 points. Yeah. I'm not sure what happened there for the longest. Like, he scored right away, and I was like, here we go, baby. But it was like 8 yard. It was an 8-yard touchdown, and he had 8 yards total. And I was just like, why the hell? How did they get down the field? Like, why did he not get a handoff? And then he never got another one. He didn't get another one. And then at one point it was like he has.
When did he fumble?
He fumbled at the end of the second quarter.
But even up to that at halftime, I think he fumbled right before halftime. But even up to that point, I was just like, why are they like? You're up big. They were up big at that point. Like, why are you not running out the clock? What is going on? Like, again, I wasn't watching, so I don't know. But
I think there was 2 things going on. You know, the Ravens got up super early by an insurmountable lead, and they had a Thursday game. So okay. I think after halftime it was we're playing scrubs and backups and giving all of our starters as much possible time to rest and recover before a short week.
I'm just reading the Olsen news. Plans to rest a few weeks and then play the rest of the season. Interesting. But yes, I get that, and I think my thoughts were he didn't play much in the he being Collins didn't play much in the preseason, so I thought he'd be kind of like the dude, meaning like 20 carries. because that's typically, your big guys don't play in the preseason. Collins wasn't playing, so it's like, okay, 20 carries, here we go. To not get that week one against a really bad opponent, kind of discerning. But I'm not giving up on Collins. Like, I'm ready to give up on Cooper. I'm still I bought Collins at not really a premium price, but probably what his market value was. So I want to hold, and I want to hope that investment increases. But both of these teams, I think, will be all right. Matt, with setting his lineup, I talked to him about that. He also has some other options. I don't know why he started Austin Hooper over Jack Doyle. But the rest of this team, Kareem Hunt only got him 4 points. I didn't watch that game either, but I can't imagine why Hunt wouldn't be game planned for more than 49 yards rushing. No receptions. Is that right? I'm not sure what happened in Kansas City.
Yeah, that was a crazy game. Basically, Hunt couldn't get around the edge, but anytime Mahomes dropped back, he was tossing at 30, 40 yards down the field. So I can't imagine that game plan works 2 straight games. I think you're right. I think Hunt's got to bounce back, but that was a weird game.
Yeah, and then what's the last game we've got? Oh, Lannister and Baneford. So we'll say the best for last, our king for last. I think from the very get-go, I had thought Lannister was going to pull this one out. Can't remember why, but just for whatever reason, I was like, oh, it's because I have Baneford's first. And so I was like, I'm cheering. So that's what I was like, there's a really stupid reason that I was cheering for House Lannister this week, and I can't remember why. And it's because I have Baneford's first. So I don't have my first. I have his. So it's like lose, lose, lose. And for a while, he was losing big to where, he is in the basement of his division. So, but for a while, I was going like, okay, he has the lowest score here, the third lowest score in the conference. Yeah, so I was doing that. And I think if this is split right, he's got 1, 2, 3, the 5th lowest score in the conference, which puts his after week 1, which puts his first round pick in a very good spot. So I was excited about that. But in cheering for Lannister, and then it kind of like it was close, and then Lannister started to pull ahead, and I was like, yeah, baby. Lannister's got to find another team. He's got to find a second quarterback. I don't know where all the quarterbacks are at, but
they're not on his team.
And I think we've been saying that for since I don't know if he's ever had a second quarterback from the draft or not, but with how Carr looks, 6 points, he's got to get a second quarterback. I don't know, and it's another one. I'm not sure if he has the depth to do it, but maybe he does have 4. I guess Michael Crabtree's up there too. He has 4 elite wide receivers. I mean, if you could break one of these down. He really doesn't have a running back either, so I'm not sure how consistent his team is going to be. If you're starting Duke Johnson as your running back, I don't know if he has his first, but
he does.
I would move your first for a running back, and then try to break down one of these wide receivers and pick up a quarterback. Good Lord. But I said this. I think we kind of went along the same things last year with Baneford, and we're like, team's really solid, but doesn't have any depth. And I'm looking at Lannister and almost said the exact same thing. So maybe my gut is telling me to pick Lannister to win the league.
What's Baneford on that?
But we'll see. I don't know. But we'll see. He's got the pieces. I mean, Michael Thomas could explode. Cooper Kupp's good. Green could explode. If Carr has like a decent quarterback week, you're looking at 130 points. So it could very well happen. It's just the consistency is going to be an issue. So we'll see. Baneford, I don't know if worried's the right word, but Bortles, I was worried about Bortles for a while. I was like, come on, man, I bought you. Do what? Like, I have faith in you. Like, freaking let's go. And I think a lot of that's play calling, because for a while in that game, it was like 3-0, 3-0, 6-3, 6-3, 6-3. And then finally someone scored on like a pick six, and then Barkley scored real quick, and then someone else scored real quick. And I was like, where the fuck's this been all day? If Bortles would just throw the damn ball, they let him throw the ball. I think Bainfort's all right, but if they don't, I mean, you could be in like Fournette's banged up already. Hunt was iffy. Like the play, I think Hunt's going to bounce back, but it's real iffy. So if something else goes wrong here, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to recover. Parker's out, Jeffrey's out, Marlon Mack's out. So
this can go sideways quickly if these guys don't show up.
Right. So if those guys don't get healthy, and then his Fournette doesn't get healthy, and these other guys don't show up, he could be in some trouble here, especially if I don't know who he plays this. I guess I can click week 2 instead of being lazy. I was going to say, because if he's got so he's got Payne this week and then Cashley next week. I don't know what the timetable is on Wentz, but if Wentz is back week 3 and you've got a full Cashley squad, Cashley's going to put up 100-some points, so you better be ready to go. And so if you give him the win next week against Payne, which I think you could, but it might not be wise considering Payne kind of snuck up on Cashley this week. But Bainford could easily be 1-2 or 0-3 after this first round divisional matchups with the lineup that he has. It's just the thing could go sideways real quick.
Yeah, and that's a tough thing about these running backs. I mean, Liz Gurley, who was the 101 in any redraft league this year, Fournette and Hunt were at that turn. So I mean, you look at on paper, you don't expect Hunt and Fournette to combine for 12 points, and yet it happened. So I think I think what we talked about, overreaction theater definitely happened from week 1. But if it happens 2 straight weeks, I start to get a little bit worried, and Lewis starts to get a little bit more excited about that Bainford first.
And I kid you not, I was like giddy about it. I was like, yeah, baby. And it was to the point where I was like, I think I'm really going to hold on to this first, because usually I trade all my picks. And I was like, I think I'm really going to hold on to this one. So now I've been like, I'm really invested in Bainford having a terrible season.
All right, Bainford first or Egan first?
Oh, Egan first.
All right, I want to make sure you hadn't completely lost your mind.
No, there's a couple. I'd rather have Baelish. I'd rather have Egan. I'd rather have Brotherhood. But after that, I think everybody else after that is in a spot where the next couple of teams that are bad are all going to be grouped in the same spot. So it's kind of hard to pick who I'd want out of that group. But
I think that group is weird, because the team that's going to fall into that group is somebody who thinks they're still a contender.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to be House Reed. Like I said, I tried to buy the tight end that's 100 years old that had 0 points this week, that's in an offense that doesn't pass. He was like, why need my tight end death? I'm trying to win. So it's just one of those things. We'll see. We'll see where things go. But I do think some of these teams surprised this week. And I don't know if they can keep it up, but I just want to go through my surprisers real quick, and then we can probably wrap it up unless you guys want to talk about something else. I was surprised by Bolton. I was surprised by Mouser, even though I knew it was coming. I was surprised that it actually came.
That's what she said.
I paused for dramatic effect. I was surprised that Royce put up 132. Not that he won and not really the amount, but that he put up enough to put himself ahead of the veil for at least the time being. I was surprised that Children lost after going 14-0 in the regular season last year. But again, not so much a surprise in the loss, just surprised that he got shellacked.
Ham had a hell of a week.
Yeah, so that was a really good week for Ham. Nothing surprised me in the Stormlands. It kind of is what it is. Our division's always been that way. Everybody's 7-9, 9-7, 8-8 in that division anyways. The Reach as a whole surprised me. Not Bulwer being in the basement, but Cox, like that 1, 2, 3 order definitely surprised me. I thought it would be completely different. So I'm interested to see how that plans out. Nothing out of the ordinary in Essos and Dorne, and nothing really out of the Westlands other than I'm surprised that Baneford's team doesn't look as good as it did last year. I mean, it's still the same team. It's still going to be good, but if that was my team and I rolled that out and I'm expecting 130, 140 points and I lose by only scoring like 90 points, I'm pretty upset about it. So kind of surprised about Baneford. But other than that, I think everything else went smoothly and was as I expected. Other than you scoring 180 points, what the hell, man? Can I have some of those?
Jesus. I mean, you get 100 and I had 105 out of 3 people, and none of them were my quarterbacks.
Jesus.
Right.
Yeah, that's a shit ton of points.
Yeah, I'd say on that, the only thing I would say would be, again, the whole Hightower thing. Like, we spent all off season kind of stroking that, saying, "Oh my God, this is the new favorite in Fire," and can't even crack. What was it, 90?
Didn't crack 85.
Couldn't crack 85. Like, that's wildly surprising. And again, these games do matter at the end of the year, where if he's 43 points behind Cockshaw that he's got to make up throughout the rest of the year, and he's a win behind Cockshot that he's going to make up throughout the rest of the year. So, again, Jimmy will be playing better. Who knows what's happening with Mariota, though DJ had a bad week. Who knows what's happening with Baldwin. That's something that's affecting me as well. This is where, and I think, Lewis, you brought it up during the offseason, depth really matters. So Hightower sacrificed his to get his elite options because that's what won the league last year. And again, these things are cyclical. These elite options don't always win you the league if they're the lead options in the offseason. So
it's kind of the thing I love and hate both about this league is that you come out of the gate and your first 3 games are against your division, and the division winner, gets that playoff spot. You can basically be fucked coming into
week
4.
3. Yep. And it's one of those things where, like, I've always found, like, and I know it happens, and I'm way too impatient to, like, capitalize on it, but, like, the amount of, like, picks that get thrown around right before the draft and the amount of capital and players that get thrown around right before our rookie draft is insane. It's one of those things where, like, I really want to, like, and I think Eric said it best, and he's on playing FIFA now, but he said it best about Star Wars League. He was really excited. He liked what he had. He had a lot of good players, and he's got all these picks, and he's like, dude, people get so excited about these picks. He's like, I sold Darius Geis for a 2019 first and Gronkowski and something else, and like people were willing to pay. Like, and I said, yeah, dude. And I said, if you have it, you hold on to it. There'll be a time when people are willing to pay for it. It might not be right now, but wait on it. And I think that's one of the things here for, like, Hightower. He made some of these moves in the off season, and those moves killed it. Like, he moved for Doug Baldwin at the time. It was a super cheap Doug Baldwin he bought from Bolton as soon as Bolton kind of entered the league, and we were all like, Jesus, here we go. Bolton made a really shitty deal, but whatever. Hightower takes advantage of that, bought him before, he gets hurt, or before the talk of him being hurt. Then he comes back and gets hurt again week 1, and that's a donut in his lineup that costs him. He bought Robert Woods, puts Robert Woods in his lineup. Robert Woods only scores 6 points. He bought Dion Lewis. He had already had Henry. He buys Dion Lewis. I'm thinking he's going to sit here and play both because he's a Tennessee fan, or he's at least going to start one, and that was going to be his downfall, is he was never going to be able to start the right Tennessee running back. He doesn't start either, and Lewis scores 20 points. So it's interesting. He does have the 3 quarterbacks. Jimmy Garoppolo, sorry, Mike, didn't look very good last week. I'm not sure. I'm hoping that, I don't own him anywhere, and I don't really hope that anybody, ever, like, busts or doesn't break or doesn't work out or whatever. That's not what this is about. But I'm hoping that he gets it together. I'm hoping that it's not one of those things where you get a Matt Flynn situation. So I'm hoping it works out. But because I was going to say, geez, Hightower with Mariota being hurt could be in some problems. But I looked and saw that he has the 3 quarterbacks here. So if he rolls out Garoppolo and Mahomes next week, he should be all right. Granted that Garoppolo does better than 9 points.
But again, look at
It'll be interesting.
the other side with Garoppolo here. Assuming that both guards aren't gone this season, you lose 2 guards in a game, and your rookie right tackle is now your starting guard, is a little bit tough. And you're playing probably the best defense in the NFC. So
Right.
I'll give him the benefit of the fact here, but you're absolutely right. If this persists, I'm going to be a little worried.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and on top of that, he lost his
Wide receiver.
best off. Well, I was going to say McKinnon. He lost his
Right.
best offensive weapon before the season started.
Yeah, and then he loses a wide receiver. I expected more from Pierre Garçon. There wasn't really anything there this past week. I streamed started.
Yeah, there will be.
It is what it is. So I don't know how long we've been on here. I don't know if anybody wants to keep talking. The only other thing that we left to do is to outline key matchups for next week. We can do it. We can not do it. We can be done, wrap it up. It's up to you two.
Let's knock it out real fast, because at the end of the day, that's what the people are paying to get. It's for me to say end of the day, and it's for us to say some things here. So,
all right. So I'll blow through them and then I'll throw it to you guys. Let you pick who you're going to take, and then I'll take somebody, or we'll do it that way. So the first one on my screen, because mine's different than all yours, is Swan versus Dondarian, which is me. I'm obviously going to have to take myself.
I think I'm going to agree with you there. Although Swan is favored by the current matchup. She's a 6-point.
Yeah, that's because she's got Delaney. She's got Delaney Walker in there, and he's on injured reserve, and he's still projected 9 points. So he'll come out. Somebody else will come in. The gap will close a little bit. She'll still be favored, but
he's Kittle there.
As long as Bell doesn't show up, you win.
I'm going Swan here because look, she's going to replace Walker with Kittle, and again, that's not as much of a drop off as we think. And after New Orleans just got the shit kicked out of them by Tampa, there's no way they're losing to Cleveland at home. They don't lose to Cleveland at home. That means Kamara is getting fed. So
yeah, and I think I like James White a lot this week too. He's going to be that.
I liked James White last week. I streak started him last week, so he all depends on Michelle. So if Michelle plays, then maybe not. If Michelle doesn't, stream White. The next matchup for me is House Reed versus House Stark. This is probably for the battle of the basement of the battle for the basement of the. I'm getting too tired here. The battle for the basement of the division in the North. I probably have to say House Reed wins just because of his quarterbacks, but again, he only put up 80 points last week. Stark only put up about the same. It's tough, but I think Reed has to find a way to get Geronimo Allison in there just based off of what Allison did in the second half alone of the last. I don't think he had any points in the first half, and they came out in the second half and had 16.5 points. So I liked Allison. I had him on my team all summer, and I regretted trading him, but I had to because I needed to move a piece to get Alex Collins, and he ended up being the piece that I moved. Essentially, I got a second-round pick back for Geronimo Allison, but still not entirely thrilled about trading him.
So this hasn't come up yet tonight, but do we think Aaron Rodgers is going to survive the season? He can't get out of his own way.
I think he survives the season as long as, I think they were caught off guard by the Bears. I think they thought, this is what we're going to walk in and beat the Bears like we always do. It's the Bears. They're going to lay down. They'll beat themselves. Mack and Smith have completely changed that defense. It is so fast. It is so quick that for the first quarter where the Packers were in that shock mode of holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, Rodgers was going to get his head taken off. Once they realized that and fixed it, and he was quick and getting the ball out, moving it here and getting it out of here, he was fine. So now that I think that they know that that's what they've got to do in the Bears, then he'll be all right. Because I think he does that when he plays the Vikings. He just picks them apart because he goes 1-2 out, 1-2 out. I would think that he typically against the Bears is just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, there he is, wide open, throw it. So I think that mindset he probably didn't have going in. Now he definitely has it. So I think he'll be all right. Although I'm not 100% convinced that he's not somewhat decently hurt. Like I think there's actually something wrong there. But I don't think that we'll ever know about it. Like I don't think it'll be one of those things like that comes out after the season where it's like Rodgers was dealing with knee injury all year long. I think that's what we're gonna get. But I take Reed here just because of his quarterbacks.
And
what do you think, Mike?
You're absolutely right there. I don't think Rodgers is 100% right, and I think someone in Green Bay has the common sense to look at this and say, look, we're in Minnesota this week. This is not the game we have to win. We have to make sure we beat them when they come to us. And Rodgers playing on one leg against this defense is a really fucking bad idea. So let's put Kaiser out there this week. Even if we lose this game, we put ourselves alive, because if we put him out there on one leg against Minnesota, we're dead. Because your point, Mack and Smith completely changed that defense, but then Mack played sparingly in the second half. And I think I saw someplace that Smith only actually played 5 snaps the entire game.
Yeah, he only played a little bit in that first quarter, second quarter, end of first, beginning of second quarter. So I don't know what that was about, but yeah, he only played limited. But when they were on the field together, they were like, I think you saw was it the play that he got hurt on? I can't remember, but there was one play where Mack came flying off of this way and Smith came flying off this way and that was for his first play. Like they both crashed both ends of their thing so freaking quickly. It was unbelievable. So those two will be fun to watch. The next matchup is Forrester and Bolton. I'm not going to spend any time on this because that's 3 Forresters. I don't think anybody's taking Bolton. Same thing with the next one is Tully versus Brotherhood. I think it's actually projected a lot closer than I thought. So maybe I'll let this one get thrown open to you guys. But my initial instinct is 3 Tullys, 3 votes for Tully here.
Yeah, this is another one of those. It depends on Le'Veon Bell. If Connor plays, he's going to put up Le'Veon Bell type numbers, and this is an easy win for Tully.
Yeah, I'll go with that as well. I don't think Beckham can overcome everything else that Tully has.
I don't think Beckham can overcome everything else that Brotherhood has.
Yeah, and then just a random question about why I look at this team, because I'm looking at what's on his bench, because I'm like, well, if Connor doesn't play, what does he start? On his bench, he has Sammy Watkins, Sterling Shepard, Josh Gordon, Nick Chubb, Kieran Johnson. He has enough here that he could package up to get something better at quarterback than Eli Manning and Derek Carr. Not sure he's going to do it. Probably should, but this is a team that I say is always 1 year away. Ever since he traded, he had Gurley and Fournette at one time. So anyways, next one is Gravejoy and Wode. I would have to think that this is a give it to Gravejoy, but you're looking at the projections. It's only a 18-point difference. Again, if Malister has a tight end, it's probably cut in half, and it's only a 9 or 10-point difference, which makes this thing a whole hell of a lot more interesting. I think this is going to be an interesting match, but I'm still going Gravejoy just because I think Gravejoy can more consistently get to that 100 number, and I think that's what this league's all about. You get to that 100 number, you're going to have a chance. I think Gravejoy can consistently get there. I'm not sure Malister can just yet.
Yeah, I need to get some performance out of my quarterbacks, and if I do that, I'm pretty happy with the rest of my starters right now.
And I'm going to be contrarian and go Malister here just because Cam's going to cancel out. Mahomes, I think, is going to continue to show out. The problem is going to be how much of it goes to Tyreek. I think we see Ramsey on Gronk, so that kind of neutralizes that. Then it becomes down basically to the running backs, where it looks like Malister might have a slight edge in terms of who they're playing. So I agree. I think it's going to be a great match, but I'll go Malister right now just because I'm contrarian and I love pissing off Greyjoy.
The really interesting thing here is that Mahomes plays at the Steelers this week. So this
Exactly.
is
Yeah, I'm going. I'll be
other.
there, so I'll let you guys
Nice.
know how that goes. But yeah, so I'm excited. Mahomes has been one of my favorites. So they're coming here. I'm going, taking the girlfriend and a couple buddies are going. And then the one guy I'm going with, he played for Detroit for a year or two. He didn't get drafted, but he played for Detroit for a year or two before hurting his back and never got back into it. But his buddy is like the offensive lineman on the Chiefs. Like he'd be the guy that like fills in all the spots. So like he's the backup tackle, the backup guard, the backup center. Like if someone gets hurt, like this dude's going in the game. So they're buddies with him. So they're going to see him. I'm going to, because the Steelers are my home type deal. So it'll be fun. So I can't wait. I'm hoping the Steelers rout Kansas City like they normally do, but I want to see Mahomes do really well too. So we'll see how that goes. The next matchup's really interesting. Mike said the last one was a really good one. This one's also the first couple there probably weren't as much so good, but there are some really good ones this week. This is another one, Royce versus Harding.
Fun.
And in the time that we've been on here, Harding has switched Dak Prescott out of his starting lineup and put in Joe Flacco.
That's a bold move, Cotton.
Which is interesting. And because of that, I'm just gonna lean Royce. Not because of that, but like it's just kind of like it's that kind of overreaction where if you tinker with what's really good, something's bound to go wrong. Flacco could just as easily have a Stafford game next week, and then you're like, well, where am I?
You mean a Flacco game?
Right, yeah, we got a Flacco game. What am I thinking? Again, Kelsey wasn't really used. Pittsburgh does a pretty good job of covering the tight end. So I'm not sure you see a big week for Kelsey again, especially if Mahomes is going to do the drop back, run around in 3 circles, spin, dance sideways, and then throw the ball deep, which is a weakness of the Steelers. That Kelsey's going to be the guy that does that. I think that Watkins and Reek are just going to wreak havoc. Yeah, the rest of these guys, I don't know. We'll see how they perform. Wilson's going to have to play against Chicago's defensive front. We just saw what they did to Rodgers. So it could be a very interesting matchup. The projections have it not close, 20-point difference, but I think this could be a close one.
Yeah, I think the difference here is Todd Gurley, and he's playing against the Cardinals, who just got gashed by Adrian Peterson, who's 45 years old or something like that.
Your age?
Older than me, even. Yes.
Yes.
Now, the fun thing about this is I love the strength of the schedule real fast. So again, I'm only going to spend 20 seconds on this. Joe Flacco versus Cincinnati. Cincinnati just played Andrew Luck. So, they're 25th again in strength of schedule. Whereas you look at A.J. Green, Baltimore just played against Josh Allen and Nathan Peterman. But they're the number one strength of schedule receivers. I'll be very concerned. Like, yeah, that's the fun part about the early part of the season because everything gets a grain of salt.
Yeah, I don't pay any attention to those rankings until at least four games in.
This other one's the Battle of 101. You've got
to race to the bottom.
After Egan only scored 20 points, I don't see him scoring much more. He does have 8 players in there now, thank God. I don't know how hard that was. I'm still not sure he has the right 8 players in there. He's starting Gesicki. Gates is probably more prone to score points.
What does he even have Gates on his roster for?
I don't know.
Jesus.
I traded Gates.
But the rest of the roster, there's not. I don't know why Austin Carr is projected negative points. That's ludicrous. But I think this is 3 Bailishes, so we'll spend no more time on this.
He's Peterman for 12 points. Anyways, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. Children and White Walkers. This one's good. You've got to think Children rebounds. White Walkers did put up a shit ton of points. He has no Olsen, so he put Jake Butt in. He doesn't have any other option at tight end. Edelman's suspended, so he doesn't have Edelman in. He's got Alfred Morris he could put in, but you probably don't put Alfred Morris. He's got some bad matchups. Aaron Rodgers versus Minnesota. Chris Hogan versus Jacksonville. Demaryius Thomas versus Oakland will be a good matchup. That's really the only like above average matchup I see here. So he'll have a much tougher schedule than Children. Children has better players, so I'm picking Children.
I'll go Walkers here. I think you get the point around the Jackson versus New England, but I think Ramsey's going to end up trailing Gronk instead of Hogan, and it's going to be Boye versus Hogan instead. And I think we saw plenty of times that OBJ or Shepard even beat Boye. So if Shepard can beat Boye, I think Hogan probably can. And then I have zero faith in anything Oakland right now. So I think quarterbacks carry through. But you know what? Maybe I'm just being contrarian.
No, you're not.
I mean, in Oakland, I probably have faith in Lynch. That would probably be the only thing. Not a whole lot, but I mean, probably 10, 12 points a week faith in Lynch. That's probably the only thing I have out of Oakland. Sorry cutting you off, Grayjoy. Go ahead.
No, that's quite all right. I was just going to say I'm just going to keep fading Rodgers right now. I don't think that this is a good week for him to even be in the lineup.
Right,
but
yeah.
I can't put him in and say he's going to get his 17, 20 points.
Yeah, I don't know how you put him in after what happened last week. If he is still somewhat hurt, you have to rest him, especially against this defense, because if the same thing freaking happens to him, he's going to be in trouble.
He's going to be RG3. He's going to do something stupid, try to do too much, and tear himself up.
Nah, he won't fall from grace like RG3, but yeah, definitely
no.
Interesting. Free Folk and Night's Watch. I think this is 3 Free Folks, so I'm gonna keep going. Targaryen and Fell. This is the other matchup in my division. These are coin flip matches. This again probably comes down to Le'Veon Bell if James Conner, is starting. He's gonna put up big points. He has Chris Thompson in his lineup. He didn't when he played me, so he made that change. I'm trying to think if there's any other changes that he made. I can't remember if he had Trey Burton in against me or not. I really don't like Trey Burton. Chicago didn't use tight end or really any of the wide receivers. So unless that changes, I really don't want Trey Burton. Amari Cooper, I don't really want. I've always liked Chris Thompson. Mixon's good. Freeman, I even though you guys haven't, saw 102, think Grayjoy, you like him. Mike, you probably do too. I'm not as big a fan on Royce Freeman. I think it's just always going to be a running back by committee in Denver from here on out. I don't, as much as I want James Conner to score, 2 touchdowns again, I don't think that's happening against Kansas City. And then you've got Stafford and Flacco. So it's interesting. Who did?
Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, well, for years past, how Pittsburgh beats Kansas City is they spread them out, and Ben just and that's typically that's Ben is good for the one game a year where he throws 4 or 5 interceptions, and then he just comes back and throws 6 or 7 touchdowns. And look who's on the schedule. Lo and behold, it's Kansas City again. So we'll see if James Conner is used differently, but. Regardless, I think it's still kind of hard to say, oh, yep, here, mark him down for 30 points again. That's tough. Because of that, better players, the quarterbacks, the quarterback. I guess I would. The projection here is really big. It's in favor of Targaryen, so I'll go with the computer. I'll take Targaryen.
I think you're right. I think Targaryen. I mean, some of these projections are actually low for what we're probably going to see, although. I have a hard time thinking Matt Ryan's going to score 19 points based on what their offense looked like last week. They should bounce back, but that was a mess.
Agreed, Targaryen. And again, this is another one of those. I thought you were going to say 3 for Targaryen and move on.
Yeah, it's close. My divisions, on paper, yeah, but the division has always been 9-7, 7-9, 8-8. So. Yeah. Somebody surprises somebody at some point, so we might as well give it a shot. The next one I think is 3 for Hightower. The projections aren't close. I think they're off by 30 points, and it's probably more than that because Gesicki is projected 8 points. I don't think that happens. He's a rookie. Chad Williams, I don't know who you are, but you're projected 7. You got a donut last week. So I think this is 3 Hightowers. Hightower doesn't have to get the lineup right this week. But if he scores 80 points, he's probably going to win.
Or probably doesn't have a quarterback is the other thing. Is if Mariota misses this week, he doesn't have anyone who can start.
I think he wins even without him. He's got so much depth.
Bullware has Mariota and no other quarterback.
Oh, they both do.
Yeah, they both do. So regardless, if Mariota doesn't play, Hightower has a stash. Bullware has nothing.
So it's either cancels out or Bullware's even
screwed.
More fucked.
Cox on Tyrell projections aren't close. 30 points. Cox. I think this is 3 Cockshaws.
If he continues what he did last week, he's in great shape.
Yeah, although part of that is Olsen getting 10, although
true.
And Fournette, but he's got Yeldon. I think it's Cockshaw, but it's closer than mentioned here. So continue.
It gets somewhat interesting again. Faceless and Iron Bank. Iron Bank's projected by 20. Faceless is going to have to set a lineup and change some things around. I'm not 100% sure that he does. So I would think this is three Iron Banks.
Yeah, and there's even some question about whether Devonta Freeman's going to play this week or what his injury really is. So that even hurts Faceless even more.
Santy and Sand Snakes. As much as I really loved the flashbacks of my Madden 15 days with Jared Cook coming across the middle on the tight end cross, I'm not sure he scores 25 points every week. There's still some questions. I'm not sure Peyton Barber against Philly is a good decision. Sam Bradford looks like ass. He's playing the Rams. McCoy, Buffalo, I don't know what happened there. But I think Sandstake still got close to 100 points, or if he made it over 100, good for him.
Yeah.
I just think that, again, for the battle for 100 points, Sandcard probably has an easier road to that, and so I'm going to pick Santy.
So actually, per something you said earlier, I'm going to take Snakes, and here's why. If Cooper's going to be primarily in the slot, that's Chris Harris territory, and that is shut down slot receiver territory. So, again, Baltimore overperformed against Buffalo, so I'm not too worried there. But I think Tannehill against the Jets is going to go bad. So basically, you're going to be relying on You're going to be relying on Dalton. You're going to be relying on Hilton, and then bounce backs in a couple of different areas. Whereas while Snakes is a little weak, you still have that floor of Gordon, McCoy, Landry, and one of those quarterbacks. I think it's not going to be a race to 100. I think it's going to be a race to 80 in this game. And I think Sand Snakes wins that race.
Yeah, this is a matchup of B-level quarterbacks and everyone else.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's probably whoever has the better quarterback play wins. Bainfort and Payne.
Michelle last week.
Just from what?
Did Payne really start Michelle last week?
If he did, I missed it and have to complain about it.
He had 103 points.
Yeah, there's no way he had 103 points, and I went through all the lineups and yelled at the people that were.
I'm sorry.
He did. He started Kenneth Dixon. Fucking unbelievable. Great start. Start of the week.
Did he have any choice?
Start of the week because Kenneth Dixon won him the week because he would have had 93 points if he didn't sub Kenneth Dixon in. His other option would have been Philip Lindsay. Other than that, nothing would have won him the game. So he put in the guy in the right spot that won him the game. Start of the week, ring the bell. Do I have I need buttons to press for sound effects. Start of the week for Payne. Congratulations, that was awesome stuff. So the random touchdown when they were up 40-3 wins House Payne the week. And then the last one is.
Wait,
we didn't pick. I don't know. For my own selfish reasons, I'm going House Payne.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. This is Bainfort makes things right and gets himself back to 500.
That's probably what happens, but I'm being selfish, so go Payne.
Yeah, I do the fact that both not only have two quarterbacks but two tight ends starting right now, so that's fun.
This
is a tight end premium league, right?
Probably not.
Oh.
I don't know. There's too many of them. I don't think. Payne could probably start a third. Eifert's down there. Yeah, I don't know. They're probably rolling out that if Michelle plays, It probably is a lot closer, but I doubt he plays. And then finally, we get Lannister and Casterly. Until Wentz comes back, I can't pick Casterly. Nick Foles is garbage. He has an easy matchup against Tampa Bay secondary.
I love how he's projected for under 3 points. That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. But again, the computer is going Lannister with a hair under 100 points. Or no, that's not a hair. I thought that was 99. It says 94. So 94 points to Casterly's 83. But again, Burton is projected 8 points. He got not like 2 last week. I don't think you can project 8 points there. Cooks is going to get his 11. Anderson will get his. Mixon will get his. I didn't follow. I don't know what Burkhead did last week, but I would say a little less on Burton and a lot more on Foles, but not a whole lot more on Foles. So I guess this is actually close.
But Burton had 6 targets last week and only came up with 1 catch. So they were trying to use him.
Yeah, I guess so. When you throw it at his feet on the tight end screen out of the backfield and go, and throw it, that doesn't really. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I didn't see the targets, so I don't know how they decide.
Yes. So I mean, when you have Matthews coming in your face and you slide out and throw it at Burton's feet 4 times in a row, those don't really count as targets in my book. But yeah, I get what you're saying that they had to play calling. They tried to use them and it just didn't pan out. But it's one of those things in some of these places, and like Clay, what's the dude in Buffalo? Clay, I can't think of. Charles Clay is the same way. Until they start doing something, I don't know if you can use them. So until Burton starts doing something, I don't know if you can use him. But he doesn't have any other option at tight end, so you got to start him. I get that, but
yeah, I think this is a game where the projections for Philadelphia are way off. Foles and Ajayi are going to blow both of those out of the water, and this is probably an easy win for Casterly.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing will be the quarterback play. Casterly's going to have 2 to his 1, but if Carr had any kind of resemblance of the flashes that he's shown and gets his 15 to 20 points, then Lannister's okay. But I could see some regression from from Magic, whatever they call him, Sam. But I think I don't know. I think I'm going to pick Lannister just so that somebody is ahead of Banefort in that division.
Nice.
Yeah,
for my selfish reasons
as well. I think quarterbacks mean too much. But yeah, that's not going to be an easy game for either side.
Oh, my thing turned green for whatever reason. All right, so that's all for week 1. That's our preview for week 2. Maybe next week we'll grab Jeremy. He messaged me, but I don't know what he said. So maybe we'll see if we can get Jeremy next week. We'll see if we can get Eric longer. He went to play FIFA an hour ago. I told him I'd join him, and it's been an hour, so we'll see how that goes. But until next time, both of you, thank you for joining. Thanks for running through this. House of Woad, thanks for watching.
Thanks for coming back, Mike.
Malicer, thanks for coming back, Mike.
Yeah.
And
beware the Sharknadoes.
Thanks for losing Banefort. I appreciate it. Keep it up.
And seriously, beware the Sharknadoes.
I don't even know. Sharknado. Yeah.
It's a real thing.
Anybody on the coast, be careful. Or not on the coast. I'm not on the coast, but the shit's going to flood when it gets here. But I don't think it's coming here until next Monday. So everybody be careful. And if you play college football, shit ton of games are canceled, so watch out for your lineups. Adios. How do you make it live? Stop.